My dad disowned me on my birthday. Until the CEO announced my name to everyone's shock. The moment my father's hand connected with the table, silencing the entire restaurant, I knew my 29th birthday dinner was about to become a nightmare. What I didn't know was that in exactly 3 hours, he would be the one begging for my forgiveness. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm about to tell you the story of how I went from being disowned by my father to watching him cry in front of 200 people, all in the span of one birthday evening. But first, let me take you back to where it all started to crumble. You know that feeling when you're standing at the edge of a cliff and you can feel the ground starting to give way beneath your feet? That's exactly how I felt when I saw my father's face as I walked into Romano's restaurant that Friday evening. Part 1: The Gathering Storm. The autumn air in Manhattan carried that crisp bite that made me pull my coat tighter as I stepped out of the cab. Romano's was my father's favorite restaurant. Old money, old traditions, the kind of place where the waiters remembered your name and your usual order. I should have known something was wrong when he insisted on meeting here instead of our family home. I was running late, as usual. My job as a senior marketing analyst at Henderson & Associates kept me chained to my desk most evenings, and today had been particularly brutal. We were pitching for the Lawson account, a multi-million-dollar deal that could make or break our quarter. But it was my birthday, and my father had been unusually insistent about this dinner. "Miss Mitchell, your party is already seated," the maitre d' said with a warm smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. There was something in his expression. Pity, maybe? I brushed it off. The private dining room at the back of Romano's was dimly lit, all dark wood and leather. My father sat at the head of the table, his silver hair perfectly combed, his navy suit immaculate. Next to him was my stepmother, Patricia, looking like she'd just stepped out of a country club magazine in her pearls and cashmere. And then there was my younger half-brother, Justin, 23, and fresh out of business school, wearing a smirk that I'd come to recognize as trouble. "Sarah," my father said, standing but not approaching to hug me. "You're late." I texted. The Lawson pitch ran over. I leaned in to kiss his cheek, but he turned slightly and my lips brushed air. Hook. That should have been my first warning. My father never turned away from a greeting, but I was too focused on the way Patricia was gripping her wine glass to notice the storm that was brewing. "Sit down, Sarah," he said, his voice carrying that corporate CEO tone he used in boardrooms. "We need to talk." I felt my stomach drop. Those 4 words, "we need to talk," have never preceded anything good in the history of human conversation. I slid into the chair across from him, suddenly very aware of how the 3 of them were positioned like a tribunal, and I was the defendant. "Happy birthday to me," I said, trying to lighten the mood. Nobody laughed. My father poured himself a scotch from the decanter on the table. He didn't offer me any. "Sarah, I'm going to get straight to the point. Your mother and I had certain expectations when we agreed to fund your education." My breath caught. My mother had passed away when I was 12. Patricia had married my father 2 years later. The fact that he was invoking my mother's memory meant he was building up to something devastating. "Dad, what's this about?" "It's about responsibility. It's about family legacy." He took a sip of his scotch. "It's about the fact that you're 29 years old, working a middle management job, living in a rental apartment, and showing no signs of the ambition we tried to instill in you." I blinked, processing his words. "Middle management? Dad, I'm a senior analyst at one of the top marketing firms in the city. I've won 2 industry awards." You're not fulfilling your potential?" Patricia interrupted, her voice syrupy and false. "Richard, maybe we should—" "No." My father raised a hand. "She needs to hear this. Sarah, When your mother died, I made a promise to her that I would ensure you had every opportunity to succeed. I paid for your private school education. I paid for your Ivy League degree. I've supported you financially through your 20s while you found yourself. Supported me financially? Dad, I've been financially independent since I was 24. I haven't taken a dime from you in 5 years. The trust fund, he said coldly. The trust fund your mother left you, which I've been managing. The trust fund that was supposed to go to you on your 30th birthday. My heart started racing. Was supposed to? Hook. This is the moment. This is when my entire world tilted on its axis and nothing would ever be the same again. Justin leaned forward, that smirk still plastered on his face. Dad's been reevaluating the family assets, sis, making sure everything goes to the right people. The people who deserve it, Patricia added. My father set down his glass with a heavy thunk. I'm redirecting your mother's trust fund to Justin. He's joining my company next month as VP of Operations. He has a 5-year plan, a vision for expansion. You're what? I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. That trust fund is from Mom. She set it up for me before she died. You can't just... I'm the executor of the trust. I have full discretionary power until you turn 30. And I've decided that the funds would be better utilized helping Justin build his future. A future within the family business, I might add. Something you never showed any interest in. My mind was reeling. You never asked me. You never once suggested I join Mitchell Enterprises. You told me to pursue my own path. And what a path it's been, Patricia said, examining her nails. Working for someone else. No husband, no prospects, no... That's enough, I said, my voice shaking with rage. This is about the money, isn't it? You married my father for his wealth, and now you're convincing him to steal my mother's legacy to give to your son. Patricia gasped theatrically. How dare you? Richard, are you going to let her speak to me like that? My father's face had turned to stone. Apologize to Patricia, now. No. The silence that followed was deafening. Even Justin stopped smirking. No? My father repeated, his voice dangerously quiet. No. I won't apologize for stating the obvious. This is about control, Dad. This has always been about control. You've been trying to manipulate my life since Mom died. And every time I've chosen my own path instead of yours, you've punished me for it. Remember when I chose marketing instead of law? You didn't speak to me for 3 months. Remember when I took the job at Henderson instead of your friend's company? You cut me out of Christmas that year. Sarah. No, let me finish. For once in my life. Let me finish. Tears were streaming down my face now, but I didn't care. I have worked my ass off to build a career I'm proud of. I've done it without your help, without your connections, without your money. And you know what? I'm good at what I do. I'm really good. But that's never been enough for you. Has it? Because I'm not you. I'm not some carbon copy of Richard Mitchell, corporate titan. I'm my mother's daughter, and you've resented that from the moment she died. Hook. My father stood up, and in that moment, I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not anger, not disappointment, but something colder. Finality. You want to know why I'm redirecting the trust fund? His voice was ice. Because your mother would be ashamed of what you've become. A mediocre analyst at a mediocre firm with mediocre ambitions and a mediocre life. She wanted greatness for you, Sarah. She wanted you to be somebody. And instead, you're this. He gestured at me with such disdain that I physically recoiled. I'm done, Sarah. I'm done trying to mold you into something worthwhile. I'm done being disappointed. And I'm done pretending that you're the daughter I wanted. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. This is a legal document severing my financial ties to you. The trust fund is being transferred to Justin. Your name is being removed from my will. As far as I'm concerned, effective immediately, you are no longer my daughter. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. Dad. The word came out as a whisper. Sign it. Richard. Maybe we should. Even Patricia seemed uncomfortable now. Sign. It. My hands were shaking as I picked up the pen he slid across the table. I looked at the document. It was all there, in cold legal language. The dissolution of my claim to the trust fund, the removal of my name from his estate, a formal declaration of estrangement. Hook. I signed it. And as I wrote my name on that document, I made a decision. I was done trying to earn my father's love. I was done trying to be the daughter he wanted. From this moment on, I was going to prove, to him, to Patricia, to smirking Justin, and most importantly, to myself, that Sarah Mitchell was somebody, with or without the Mitchell name behind me. I dropped the pen on the table. Goodbye, Richard. Using his first name was a calculated blow, and I saw him flinch. Good. I walked out of Romano's with my head held high, even though inside I was shattering into a million pieces. The maitre d' caught my eye as I left, and I saw that pity again. He'd probably heard everything. The cold Manhattan air hit me like a slap. I walked 3 blocks before I stopped in an alley and let myself fall apart. I sobbed until my throat was raw. Until my designer mascara had made black rivers down my cheeks, until I had nothing left inside. Then I pulled out my phone. I had 3 missed calls from my boss, Jennifer, and 1 text, "Call me immediately, urgent." I wiped my face and dialed. Sarah, oh thank God. Where are you? I just left my birthday dinner. What's wrong? What's wrong is that Marcus Henderson just called me personally, on a Friday night, Sarah, to tell me that Lawson Industries loved our pitch so much that they're not just giving us the account. They want to expand the scope. We're talking $40 million. 40 million. And they specifically asked for you to lead the team. I leaned against the brick wall, my mind struggling to process this information while still reeling from what had just happened with my father. Sarah, are you there? I'm here. Jennifer, I just had the worst night of my life, and now you're telling me. I'm telling you that you just became the most valuable asset at Henderson and Associates. I'm also telling you that there's a celebration at the Meridian Hotel in 2 hours. The board is hosting it. Marcus wants you there. Hell, Marcus wants to give you a promotion, but we need to see you first. Can you make it? I looked down at my tear-stained dress, my shaking hands, my whole broken world. Give me 90 minutes, I said. Hook. I had 90 minutes to transform from a disowned daughter to a powerhouse executive. 90 minutes to prove that I was somebody, and I was going to use every single second. Part 2. The transformation. I took a cab straight to my apartment in Brooklyn. It was a modest 1-bedroom in Park Slope. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Every piece of furniture, every painting on the wall, every book on the shelf. I'd earned it all myself. As I stood in front of my closet, still shaking from the confrontation with my father, I felt something shift inside me. Anger. Pure, crystalline anger. Not the hot, reactive kind, but the cold, calculated fury that could move mountains. I pulled out my most powerful outfit, a black Armani dress I'd bought with my first bonus check. Sleek, sophisticated, commanding. I showered, redid my makeup, this time with a bold red lip and sharp cat eyeliner. I blew out my honey blonde hair until it fell in perfect waves. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. This wasn't the girl who'd cried in an alley 30 minutes ago. This was someone else entirely. Someone who was about to walk into a room full of industry executives and own it. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Maya. Happy birthday, babe. Drinks tonight? I replied. Rain check. Just got disowned by my dad and promoted to lead a 40 Meritor's account. In that order. Her response was immediate. What the actual fuck? Calling you now? I sent the call to voicemail and texted back. Can't talk. Have to go be a badass. Wine tomorrow. Lots of wine. The Meridian Hotel was in Midtown, all glass and steel and old money. The celebration was in the penthouse ballroom, and as I stepped off the elevator, I could hear the buzz of conversation and clink of champagne glasses. Jennifer spotted me immediately. She rushed over, her eyes wide. Sarah! Oh my God, you look incredible. Are you okay? You sounded strange on the phone. I'm fine, I lied smoothly. Just had a family thing. Nothing I can't handle. Tell me everything about Lawson. As we walked toward the ballroom, Jennifer filled me in. Marcus Henderson, our CEO, had apparently spent an hour on the phone with Charles Lawson himself, the billionaire founder of Lawson Industries. Lawson had been so impressed with our pitch, particularly with my market analysis and brand strategy recommendations, that he'd not only chosen us over 3 other firms, but had also insisted on expanding the project scope. He kept asking about you specifically, Jennifer said. Wanted to know your background, your credentials, your previous work. Marcus had to pull up your entire portfolio to send to him. Sarah, I've never seen anything like this. Lawson is notorious for being impossible to please. We entered the ballroom, and I was immediately struck by how many people were there. This wasn't just Henderson and Associates staff. This was board members, investors, senior partners from other firms. This was the kind of party that could make or break careers. There she is! Marcus Henderson's voice boomed across the room. He was a tall man in his late 50s, with steel gray hair and the kind of presence that commanded attention. Sarah Mitchell, the woman of the hour. Hook. As every head in that ballroom turned to look at me, I felt it. That shift in the universe when everything is about to change. I just didn't know how much. Marcus approached with a champagne flute in hand and another one for me. Sarah, I can't thank you enough. The Lawson pitch was extraordinary. The level of detail, the insight, the presentation, it was exactly what we needed. You've just put Henderson and Associates on the map in a way we haven't been in a decade. Thank you, sir. I had a great team. Don't be modest. I read the pitch deck. That was 70% your work, and everyone in this room knows it. He raised his glass. A toast to Sarah Mitchell, who's just proven that talent and hard work beat legacy and connections every single time. The room erupted in applause, and I felt a lump forming in my throat. If only my father could see this. As if the universe was reading my mind, my phone buzzed in my clutch. A text from an unknown number. You looked pathetic tonight, crying like a child. Grow up. J. Justin. Of course. I deleted it and smiled wider. For the next hour, I worked the room. I met board members, shook hands with investors, accepted congratulations from colleagues. Jennifer introduced me to Thomas Chen, our CFO, who told me that the Lawson account would likely result in a senior director position for me, a jump of 2 levels. We're talking corner office, equity options, the works, he said. You've earned it. But the most interesting conversation came from an unexpected source. Ms. Mitchell? A woman approached me, tall and elegant in a navy suit. I'm Victoria Lawson, Charles Lawson's daughter and CFO of Lawson Industries. I nearly dropped my champagne flute. Victoria Lawson was a legend in the business world, 35 years old and already running the financial operations of a Fortune 500 company. Ms. Lawson, it's an honor. Please, call me Victoria, and the honor is mine. I wanted to tell you personally how impressed we were with your work. My father doesn't give compliments easily, But he spent 20 minutes on our call today talking about your market segmentation analysis. He said it was the most insightful work he'd seen in years. That means a great deal coming from him. Victoria smiled, but there was something calculating in her eyes. I also wanted to give you this. She handed me a business card. That's my private number. I think you and I should have a conversation sometime soon, off the record. Before I could respond, Marcus was calling for attention at the front of the room. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please? The room quieted down. Marcus stood next to a small podium, looking pleased with himself. Tonight, we're celebrating a major victory for our firm. But more than that, we're celebrating what happens when you invest in talent, when you nurture excellence, when you give brilliant people the room to shine. Sarah Mitchell embodies everything we value at Henderson & Associates: intelligence, creativity, dedication, and the courage to think differently. I felt my cheeks flush as everyone looked at me again. But what you don't know, Marcus continued, is that Sarah's success tonight is even more remarkable considering the circumstances of her career. My stomach dropped. What was he doing? When Sarah came to us 5 years ago, fresh out of grad school, she didn't come with recommendations from powerful family friends. She didn't come with a trust fund or a safety net. She came with a stellar academic record, a portfolio of innovative work, and a hunger to prove herself. And prove herself she has. Hook. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to sink into the floor, because I just knew, where this was going. What makes Sarah's achievement even more impressive is that she did it entirely on her own merit. While many in this industry rely on nepotism and connections, Sarah built her career with nothing but her own talent and work ethic. And tonight, that dedication has resulted in the biggest account win of our fiscal year. The room applauded, but I could barely hear it over the rushing in my ears. Did Marcus know what had happened at dinner? Had someone told him? As the applause died down, Marcus raised his glass one more time. So here's to Sarah Mitchell, proof that in this industry merit still matters. Congratulations, and happy birthday. Birthday. He'd said birthday. That meant someone had told him. But who? The celebration continued for another hour, but I was operating on autopilot. My mind was racing, trying to piece together what had just happened. Finally, when I couldn't take the socializing anymore, I made my excuses and headed for the exit. I was waiting for the elevator when I heard footsteps behind me. Leaving so soon? Victoria Lawson appeared at my side. The party's just getting started. It's been a long day, I said carefully. I'm sure it has. The elevator arrived and we both stepped in. Victoria pressed the button for the ground floor, then turned to me. Sarah, can I be frank with you? Of course. My father didn't just choose Henderson & Associates because of your pitch, though it was excellent. He chose you because of who you are. I frowned. I don't understand. My father knew your mother. The elevator suddenly felt very small. What? Eleanor Mitchell. She worked for Lawson Industries 35 years ago, before you were born. She was brilliant. One of the best strategic minds my father ever encountered. They stayed in touch over the years, even after she married your father and left the workforce. I was gripping the elevator railing. My mother never worked for... My father said she was a housewife, that she gave up her career when they married. Your father said a lot of things that weren't true, apparently. Victoria's voice was gentle but firm. Eleanor Mitchell was a powerhouse. She was on track to become a VP at Lawson Industries when she met Richard Mitchell. He convinced her to give it all up to be the perfect corporate wife. My father said it was one of the biggest wastes of talent he'd ever witnessed. The elevator doors opened, but I didn't move. Why are you telling me this? Because when your pitch landed on my father's desk, he recognized your name. He did some digging. Don't worry, nothing invasive, just public records and LinkedIn. He saw that you'd built your career independently, that you'd never traded on the Mitchell name. He saw your mother in you, and he wanted to help. Help how? Victoria smiled. Let's just say my father has a long memory and a strong sense of justice. He's been waiting for an opportunity to right an old wrong. This pitch was perfect. You were perfect. I don't want charity. It's not charity. Your work was genuinely exceptional. We had 3 other firms pitch, and yours was head and shoulders above them. My father just made sure that your talent got the attention it deserved. Consider it a tribute to your mother's legacy. We stepped out into the lobby. Victoria handed me her card again. Call me next week. I think there's an opportunity here that goes beyond just this one account. But tonight, go home. Process everything. And Sarah? Yes? Happy birthday. Your mother would be very proud of you. As Victoria walked away, I stood in the lobby of the Meridian Hotel, my entire world having been rebuilt and destroyed and rebuilt again in the span of 4 hours. My phone buzzed. Another text from Justin. Dad's already drafting the press release about the trust fund transfer. Hope you enjoyed your last birthday as a Mitchell. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed back. Tell Dad to check the business news tomorrow. He might want to postpone that press release. I deleted Justin's number and called a car. Hook. As I rode home through the Manhattan streets, past the glittering windows and the Friday night crowds, I made a decision. This wasn't the end of my story with my father. This was just the beginning. And by the time I was done, Richard Mitchell was going to regret every word he'd said to me tonight. Part 3. The reckoning. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father's face, heard his words. You are no longer my daughter. By 4 a.m. I gave up trying and instead sat at my kitchen table with my laptop, a pot of coffee, and a growing sense of purpose. I pulled up everything I could find about Lawson Industries, about Victoria, about the account we'd just won. Then I started digging into my mother's past, something I'd never really done before because my father had always shut down any questions about her career. What I found shocked me. Eleanor Mitchell, née Eleanor Hartley, had graduated top of her class from Wharton in 1985. She'd been recruited directly to Lawson Industries' strategic planning division and had risen through the ranks at an unprecedented pace. By 30, she was the youngest director in the company's history. The trade publications from that era described her as visionary, brilliant, and a force of nature in corporate strategy. Then, in 1994, she met Richard Mitchell at a charity gala. They were married within 6 months. Within a year, she'd resigned from Lawson Industries. Within 2 years, she was pregnant with me. I found an interview she'd given right before her resignation, buried in an old business magazine archive. The interviewer had asked her about giving up her career. Some things are more important than corner offices, she'd said. My husband has shown me a different vision of success, one centered on family and partnership. I'm excited for this new chapter. But her eyes in the photograph, they looked sad. I was so absorbed in my research that I didn't notice the sun coming up until my phone rang. It was 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday. The caller ID showed Jennifer. Tell me you're not calling with bad news, I answered. Bad news? Sarah, have you checked your email? Or the news? No, why? Check them. Now. Then call me back. I opened my laptop to find my inbox exploding with notifications. The first email was from Marcus Henderson, sent at 5:47 a.m. Sarah, see attached. We need to talk. Call me when you wake up. The attachment was a link to the Wall Street Journal's morning business section. The headline made my heart stop. Lawson Industries names Henderson and Associates as lead agency for massive global rebrand. Credits, remarkable young talent, Sarah Mitchell, Hook. I had to read it 3 times before my brain could process what I was seeing. This wasn't just a news item. This was a nuclear bomb dropped directly into the center of the Manhattan business world. The article was extensive, but a few paragraphs stood out. Charles Lawson, the reclusive billionaire founder of Lawson Industries, made a rare public statement Friday evening announcing the company's decision to partner with Henderson and Associates for what sources describe as a $40 million rebranding initiative. Even more unusual, Lawson singled out a specific executive for praise. Sarah Mitchell represents the future of this industry, Lawson stated. Her strategic vision, market insight, and innovative thinking are exactly what Lawson Industries needs as we position ourselves for the next decade. She reminds me of someone I once knew, someone who could have changed the business world if given the chance. I'm honored to ensure that history doesn't repeat itself. Industry insiders are already speculating about the cryptic reference and the unprecedented nature of Lawson's personal endorsement. Mitchell, 29, has been with Henderson and Associates for 5 years and is now expected to be promoted to senior director. I kept reading. There was more about my background, my awards, my previous work. And then, at the end, Mitchell's success is particularly noteworthy as she has built her career independently, without leveraging family connections despite being the daughter of Richard Mitchell, CEO of Mitchell Enterprises. Sources close to the situation suggest that the two have had a complicated relationship, with Sarah choosing to make her own path rather than join the family business. My hands were shaking. Someone had talked to the press. Someone had made sure the world knew that I'd succeeded without my father's help. I had a pretty good idea who. I called Marcus Henderson. Sarah, did you see it? I saw it. Marcus. Who talked to the Journal? Charles Lawson himself called the business editor at midnight. Insisted they run the story in the morning edition. He wanted the world to know about you. Why? Why would he do that? There was a pause. Sarah, I think there's a lot about this situation you don't know yet. Come to my office at 10. Victoria Lawson is flying in from Boston. She wants to meet with both of us. After I hung up, I sat in my apartment and tried to process everything. My phone kept buzzing with messages, congratulations from colleagues, friends asking if the article was real, even a LinkedIn message from a recruiter at a competing firm. Then I saw the call. Dad. Actually, his contact was still saved as Dad, even though, technically, he'd disowned me 12 hours ago. I stared at the screen until it went to voicemail. Immediately, he called again. This time, I answered. Sarah. His voice was strained. We need to talk. I believe you made your position quite clear last night, Richard. Don't call me that. You signed a document severing our relationship. I'm pretty sure that means I can call you whatever I want. Sarah, I just saw the Journal article. Why didn't you tell me about the Lawson account? Tell you? When exactly should I have mentioned it? Before or after you disowned me at my birthday dinner? That's not... Oh, we need to discuss this rationally. Rationally? I laughed, and it came out harsh. Okay, let's be rational. You stole my mother's trust fund to give to Patricia's son. You removed me from your will. You told me I was mediocre and that Mom would be ashamed of me. And now, less than 12 hours later, you're calling because you saw that I just secured the biggest deal of my career. What exactly is there to discuss? The trust fund situation isn't final. The papers haven't been filed yet. We can reconsider. There it was. The real reason for his call. Let me guess, I said. Patricia saw the article. Patricia realized that her mediocre son with his mediocre 5-year plan is never going to achieve a fraction of what I just did. And Patricia is worried that you're having second thoughts about betting the family future on Justin instead of me. Silence. I'm right, aren't I? Sarah, you're my daughter. No, you made it very clear last night that I'm not. You said I was no longer your daughter. You made me sign a legal document to that effect. So here's what's going to happen, Richard. You're going to file those papers. You're going to transfer Mom's trust fund to Justin. You're going to remove me from your will. And you're going to live with that decision. You're being unreasonable. No, I'm being exactly as ruthless as you taught me to be. You just never thought I'd use those lessons against you. Goodbye, Richard. Don't call me again. I hung up and immediately blocked his number. My hands were still shaking, but this time it wasn't from fear or sadness. It was from a kind of fierce, burning triumph. For the first time in my life, I'd stood up to Richard Mitchell and won. Hook. But if I thought the drama was over, I was about to discover that my father had one more move to make, and it was going to force me into a confrontation I never saw coming. At 10 o'clock, I walked into Marcus Henderson's corner office to find him sitting with Victoria Lawson and an older man I didn't recognize. "Sarah, thank you for coming in on a Saturday," Marcus said. "I believe you've met Victoria. This is her father, Charles Lawson." Charles Lawson was in his 70s, with white hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. He stood and extended his hand. "Ms. Mitchell, I've been looking forward to this meeting for a very long time. Mr. Lawson, I'm honored, and I have to thank you for the endorsement in the journal. It was unexpected. Please, sit." He gestured to a chair. "I'm sure you have questions. Your mother was a dear friend of mine, Sarah. When she passed away, I regretted not doing more to stay in her life, not pushing back when your father convinced her to give up her career. When I saw your pitch land on my desk, I saw it as a second chance. A chance to help Eleanor's daughter the way I should have helped Eleanor. My father told me my mother was happy," I said quietly. "That she wanted to be a housewife and a mother." Charles's expression darkened. "Your mother was brilliant and she loved you fiercely. But happy? No. She told me once, about 5 years into her marriage, that she felt like she was disappearing." "Your father didn't want a partner, Sarah. He wanted an ornament. Someone who made him look good at charity galas and dinner parties. When you were born, Eleanor found purpose again. She poured all the ambition and intelligence she'd been forced to suppress into raising you. She used to tell me about you. How bright you were. How creative. How determined. She said you were going to change the world." Tears were streaming down my face. "Then she got sick," Charles continued softly. "And in those final months, she made me promise something. She made me promise that if you ever needed help, if you ever tried to build a career in business, I would make sure you had a fair chance. Not special treatment, just fairness. A level playing field. No closed doors because you were a woman, or young, or didn't have the right connections." "The Lawson account," I whispered. "Was won entirely on your merit," Victoria interjected. "Your pitch was genuinely the best we received. My father just made sure that your name got the attention it deserved within our organization. The rest was all you." Charles pulled an envelope from his jacket. "There's something else. Your mother left something with me. She made me promise to give it to you on your 30th birthday, but given recent events, I think the timing is appropriate now." He handed me the envelope. My name was written on the front in handwriting I barely remembered. My mother's. "Read it when you're ready," Charles said. "But Sarah, I want you to know something. The business world is watching you now. Not because of your father, not because of me, but because of what you've accomplished. You have a choice to make about what comes next." "What do you mean?" Victoria leaned forward. "Sarah, we'd like to offer you a position at Lawson Industries, VP of Strategic Innovation. You'd be working directly with me, developing new market strategies across all our divisions. It's a significant step up from Henderson and Associates, both in terms of scope and compensation." I looked at Marcus, who smiled ruefully. I told them they'd have to go through me if they wanted to steal my best talent. But Sarah, I'm not going to stand in your way if this is what you want. You deserve this opportunity. I need time to think, I said. Of course, Victoria replied. Take the weekend. We can talk Monday. After they left, I sat alone in Marcus's office holding my mother's letter. My hands trembled as I opened it. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, it means Charles kept his promise, and you've found your way into the business world. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Even though I won't be there to see it, I want you to know the truth about my life. I loved you and your father, but I gave up too much of myself to be the wife he wanted. I lost my voice, my ambition, my fire. Don't make my mistake, Sarah. Don't let anyone, not even someone who loves you, make you smaller so they can feel bigger. You are capable of extraordinary things. You have my mind and my determination, but you also have something I lost. Courage. The courage to be yourself, no matter who disapproves. Hold on to that, always. The trust fund your father controls was meant to give you freedom. If he's used it as a weapon to control you, then it served the opposite purpose. Let it go, if you must. You don't need his money. You never did. You have something far more valuable. You have yourself. Build a life that makes you proud, my darling girl. That's the only legacy that matters. All my love. Forever. Mom. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my purse. Then I pulled out my phone and sent a text to my father's office email, the one I knew he'd check. I hope the trust fund brings Justin everything you think it will. As for me, I'm building my own legacy, the one Mom always knew I could. Don't contact me again unless you're ready to apologize for every cruel word. Sarah. Hook. 3 weeks later, I stood in the ballroom of the Plaza Hotel at my official promotion celebration. Senior Director Sarah Mitchell. The room was packed with industry leaders, colleagues, and press, and standing in the back, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him, was my father. He'd sent flowers to my office every day for 3 weeks. I'd donated them all to hospitals. He'd tried calling from different numbers. I'd blocked them all. But I couldn't stop him from attending a public event. As Marcus finished his speech about my contributions to the firm and announced that I'd also accepted an advisory board position with Lawson Industries, the best of both worlds Victoria and I had decided, I saw my father moving toward the exit. Wait, I called out, my voice carrying across the room. Richard Mitchell, stay. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the story by now. It had been impossible to keep quiet. He turned, and I saw tears in his eyes. I walked toward him, my heels clicking on the marble floor. When I reached him, I said quietly, so only he could hear, "You told me I was mediocre. You told me Mom would be ashamed. You were wrong on both counts. The only person who should be ashamed is you, for not seeing what was in front of you until it was too late. Sarah, please. I don't need your trust fund. I don't need your will. I don't need your approval. But if you ever want to be part of my life again, you're going to have to earn it. Just like I earned everything I have." I walked back to the podium, leaving him standing there. The room erupted in applause. That night, I went home to my modest Brooklyn apartment, the one I'd earned myself, and I slept peacefully for the first time in years. 3 months later, I received a letter from my father. Not an email, not a text, but a handwritten letter. Sarah, you were right. About everything. I spent so many years trying to control you because I was afraid that if you succeeded on your own, it would mean I'd failed. Failed your mother? Failed you. When you chose your own path instead of mine, it felt like rejection. But it wasn't rejection. It was courage. The courage your mother had before I took it from her. I can't undo what I've done. The trust fund has been transferred to Justin, And I can see now what a mistake that was. Not because of the money, but because of what it represented. My faith in the wrong child for the wrong reasons. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know, your mother would be so incredibly proud of you. And despite everything, so am I. If you ever decide you can tolerate having your father in your life again, I'll be here, waiting, trying to be the man I should have been all along. Dad, I put the letter in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd be ready to respond. Maybe someday I'd be able to forgive him. But not today. Today I had a company to help transform, a legacy to build, and a life to live. My own life, on my own terms. Exactly the way my mother had always dreamed I would. The End Epilogue. A year later, I was featured on the cover of Forbes 30 Under 30. The article was titled, "How Sarah Mitchell Built an Empire Without Her Father's Name and Changed the Game for Women in Business." In the accompanying photo, I wore my mother's pearl necklace, the only piece of jewelry I'd kept from my childhood home. And around my neck, on a delicate chain, was a small charm with an inscription, "Be brave. Be you. Be extraordinary." It was a gift from Charles Lawson, who'd become a mentor and, in many ways, the father figure I'd always needed. As for Richard Mitchell, he eventually sold Mitchell Enterprises and donated half the proceeds to a scholarship fund in my mother's name for young women pursuing careers in business. It was, I supposed, his way of apologizing to her ghost. We have coffee now sometimes. Once a month, awkward and careful, rebuilding something that may never be what it was, but could become something new, something honest. Justin, surprisingly, became an ally. The pressure of living up to my father's expectations with my mother's money broke him within 6 months. He quit the VP position, went back to school, and now teaches business ethics at a small college. He sent me an apology letter that was so earnest and heartfelt, I actually cried. Patricia left my father 2 years after the trust fund debacle. Turns out, when the money and power dynamics shifted, so did her interest. My father took it hard, but he's healing. As for me, I'm 31 now, still at Henderson and Associates during the day, still advising Lawson Industries at night. I bought a brownstone in Brooklyn. I mentor young women trying to break into the business world. I visit my mother's grave every month and tell her about my victories. And every year on my birthday, I reread her letter and remember, the only legacy that matters is the one you build yourself, the one that makes you proud.